approximately 44 school buses inside of it. So it is very impressive. And it's a good thing that it is too, because it's meant to represent the largest habitat on Earth, the open sea. You might be miles away from shore out in the open sea, and the seafloor might be thousands of feet below the surface. So if you were wondering where the algae and the rocks and sand and things like that are, don't worry, it wasn't budget cuts. This is precisely what you would see if you were to take a boat out into the middle of the ocean and jump into the water. Now here in just a moment, our team upstairs is going to be tossing that food into the water, so I encourage you all to keep your eyes on the surface right there in the middle of the exhibit for that first course going in, and perfect timing, there it is. So we are starting off with the first course, which is a lovely bit of squid for our larger and fast fish. Now to introduce you to the fish themselves, these long football-shaped fish are our yellowfin tuna, appropriately with the yellow fins marching down their back. And then the longer cigar-shaped fish that are mostly up here at the surface are our dorado, who are also known as dolphin fish. And they have another name too, which I will tell you here in just a little bit. But if anyone is a seafood fan, and I'm sure you all are out there, then this squid might look pretty familiar to you. You might have ordered calamari at a restaurant or maybe even made it at home. And this is very similar to that same calamari that we ourselves would be eating. In fact, the main difference between squid and calamari is about $6 a pound and a little bit of breading. So truly exactly what we would be seeing here on our own place is going into the water for the fish. But we have a couple of our pelagic rays also that are up near the surface. In fact, one just turned itself upside down to snack on a little bit of that squid as well. Now, they are sometimes participating in this feeding, and sometimes they don't, and that is perfectly okay. They actually get their own feeding time, and it's a little bit different from what we are seeing right now. So what we're doing at the moment is what we call a broadcast feed, where the folks upstairs just throw the food out into the water, and any of the fish that are hungry, which today is quite a few of them, can come up and grab a bite to eat. But with those pelagic rays, we actually do something called target training with those, and we're actually able to train them to come to us to get their meals. It's a pretty cool process. In fact, if you look to either side of the big window here, you'll see a couple of screens, and I'm going to put a video of that feeding up on the screens for you. So we put that target into the water, they come up and they're so polite, they just flip themselves right over and we're able to drop the food right into their mouth. And sometimes they even curl themselves up like the most adorable fish burrito. So that is a really great way to make sure that those rays don't have to compete with some of the larger and faster fish, although they are doing a pretty darn good job of it today, getting in there and getting some of that squid. But we want to make sure that they always get enough to eat. So if they do want to participate in this feeding, they can, and if they're not hungry, then they don't have to. But we also have a couple of hammerhead sharks that are swimming through, and they're not going to be taking part in today's feeding. Now, much like those pelagic rays, we do a separate kind of feeding for them, and it's similar in a way to those feedings for the pelagic rays, but instead of asking the sharks to come to us, we just wait for the sharks to swim by. And here's another video for you. We put a lovely salmon steak on the end of a long pole. We wait for the sharks to swim by, and when they do, wait for it, here it comes, building the suspense, and that's it. They take their food on the go. It is a pretty simple feeding, and if you're thinking of sharks in, say, popular media, you might have had a very different impression of what a shark feeding would look like. Well, sharks are pretty cool in that they don't need to eat as much as we typically think they do. In fact, they might go for several days or even a week between meals, depending on what temperature the water is, how recently they've eaten, how much they ate in their last feeding. And they have some pretty interesting